The MCU is more than a decade into its run, but there are countless Marvel characters whose origins still haven't been told on the big screen. So, which characters actually deserve to make the leap? From Britain's Guardian to a worthy space horse, here are the Marvel origin stories we'd love to see on film. Most of the X-Men's origin stories are simple. They were born with the X gene, developed by their uncanny mutant abilities in their teens, and then Professor X found them, or some version of that. Then there are the mutants who led rich, exciting lives well before joining the X-Men, like Wolverine or Deadpool or Gambit. Two of those three have gotten their own films, and a Gambit movie was in the works for years. Then Disney's purchase of Fox seemed to kill it, and that's a shame, because his incredible origin story definitely deserves some screen time.
Are you Remy LeBeau?
Do I owe you money?
Remy LeBeau was abandoned as a baby because part of his mutation, his glowing red eyes, was already visible at birth. He was then adopted as a kind of prophesied savior by the New Orleans Thieves Guild, and was raised to be a master thief. Then, an arranged marriage within the guilds led to a duel, the murder of a member of the Assassin's Guild, and an excommunication from the Thieves Guild, which ultimately brought Remy to the X-Men. It's complex, it's dramatic, and it's got lots of opportunities for John Wick-style action set in the heart of New Orleans. Even if you're sick of origin story movies, this one might win you over. Sometimes the best way to lay out a superhero origin story is to keep things as vague as possible. That's always been the case with the unbeatable Squirrel Girl, a beloved heroine whose name gives you a very good idea of her power set, but doesn't really explain why she can take down literally any bad guy in the Marvel Universe. Doreen Green was born with a prehensile tail that looks a whole lot like a squirrel's tail, and as she grew up, she discovered she had various other rodent-like abilities, including the power to understand and speak to squirrels themselves. What really makes Squirrel Girl's origin particularly interesting, though, is that Marvel has never fully pinned down exactly where her powers came from. Though her genetic makeup is altered from that of a normal human, she isn't technically a mutant in the same way that members of the X-Men are. She's just different, and she's chosen to use those differences for good. Also, she's managed to thoroughly defeat Dr. Doom, one of the biggest bads of the entire Marvel Universe, in her first appearance, and she's pretty much been undefeated ever since. There's no way that a teenage girl with squirrel powers taking down world-threatening supervillains wouldn't make for a great on-screen origin story. Galactus, the nearly omnipotent devourer of worlds, has already appeared on the big screen once, but Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer used an incarnation that more closely resembled a massive cloud of energy rather than the omnipotent humanoid we've seen in the comics. As the Fantastic Four prepare to enter the MCU, it's time to give audiences the real Galactus on the big screen, all while explaining some of his epic cosmic background. Galactus was born Galen of Tar, an explorer from an advanced planet that was one of the last remaining civilizations in the universe that existed before ours. As his native universe imploded due to a kind of crunching effect to prepare for another Big Bang, Galen decided to pilot a ship straight into the heart of the cosmic egg that would give birth to the next universe. In short, he's the only survivor of the Big Bang that created the Marvel Universe as it was first introduced in the 1960s. Passing through that chaotic event led to his rebirth as Galactus, a cosmic force of nature scarier than Thanos, who survived by consuming the life force of entire worlds. We'd love to see a character that grand and paradigm-shifting in live action. The Hulk's hard-hitting Gamma bombshell cousin is about to get her own series on Disney+, so there's a good chance we'll see some version of She-Hulk's origin soon. That said, we still want to take a moment to talk about why her superhero foundation is so great, and how it ties into the existing MCU already. Jennifer Walters was a meek but very intelligent lawyer who just happened to be Bruce Banner's favorite cousin, thanks to their childhood friendship. When a crime boss's thugs tried to gun her down while she was protecting a witness, Bruce struggled to save his cousin's life, and realized there was nothing he could do in the moment but give her a transfusion of his own blood. Bruce's gamma-irradiated blood, coupled with the emotional stress of the danger she was in, transformed Jennifer into She-Hulk. Over the next few decades, She-Hulk became a standout character in her own right, while also remaining a key part of the overall Hulk legacy. Unlike Bruce, who, as you might have heard, had some anger issues,
I'm always angry.
Jen has typically been fully in control of herself as She-Hulk, and actually preferred her glamorous green form, fighting crime and practicing superpowered law. The balance of those two aspects of her character has a lot of potential on the big and small screens. If you are already familiar with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and you hear the name Captain Britain, you might be expecting something very similar to Captain America, like a World War II hero specifically crafted to be a symbolic champion for a country in crisis. Well, you'd be wrong. Captain Britain's story is actually a whole lot weirder. Brian Braddock was a grad student studying physics who nearly died when the facility he was working in was attacked by a supervillain. As Brian bled to death, Merlin, yes, that Merlin, approached him and asked him if he would become Britain's champion, which would save his life. Braddock was given a choice between the Amulet of Right and the Sword of Might, and he chose the amulet. As a result, he was transformed into Captain Britain, a superhero who guards his home nation and, by extension, the world with his mystical superhuman enhancements. The mystical nature of his origins, plus the fact that there's actually a whole core of Captain Britain that protect the Marvel multiverse from threats like the Fury, a super Terminator that only exists to kill superheroes, would make for a strange and wonderful journey in live action. Ask any Thor fan which character they're still most eager to see on screen, and Beta Ray Bill will almost always be at the top of the list. Created by writer and artist Walt Simonson in 1983, Bill first appeared as a new adversary for the God of Thunder, but became something much more than a simple enemy when he lifted Thor's hammer Mjolnir, and was found worthy of the Thunder God's power himself. As readers got to know him, Bill's tragic story became clear. He was a member of an alien race whose home was destroyed by the fire giant Surtur. Bill was chosen as the great champion who would lead his people to a new home, and he was given cybernetic enhancements in a painful procedure that led to his ferocious appearance. Though Thor at first saw him as a threat, Bill quickly proved himself to be an honorable, well-intentioned warrior who was capable of fighting as one of Thor's allies. He proved to be such a good guy, in fact, that Odin even made him his own hammer, Stormbreaker. Bill's exploits made him a fan-favorite character, and it's definitely time for him to make the leap to live action. Part of Monica Rambeau's story has already been told in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but she appeared as a young girl in 2019's Captain Marvel. Nicknamed Lieutenant Trouble by Carol Danvers, Monica was the daughter of Carol's close friend, Maria, so she's kind of a niece to the superheroine.
Auntie Carol? Mom, it's Auntie Carol! I knew it! Everyone said you were dead! But we knew they were lying.
We know that Rambeau is showing up in the Disney Plus series WandaVision, but if she doesn't get her superhero start there, then there's always a possibility that this child of the 90s could come into her own in a Captain Marvel sequel. Either way, her comic book origin is pretty awesome. In Marvel Comics, Monica Rambeau was bombarded with extra-dimensional energy from a weapon created by a rogue scientist. As a result, she's able to transform herself into a being of pure energy across the electromagnetic spectrum. This power has granted her a phenomenal level of strength, even when compared to other superheroes, and she's wielded it well. Monica has led the Avengers at certain points in her comics career, and she's seen many different aliases, including her time as the second Captain Marvel and her current codename Spectrum. Seeing her fight side by side with Carol will be a wonderful development. We just see the origin story. Ms. Marvel is one of the most popular new Marvel characters in the mainstream media of the past decade. She's already appeared in video games, toy lines, and animated shows, and is now set to find her way into live action via a Disney Plus series soon. It's probably high time that her origin story made it onto a screen someplace. After all, we're living in a time when superhero movies have sparked the most intense fandom in years, which makes Ms. Marvel herself one of the easiest heroes for young fans to relate to. Kamala Khan is a Pakistani-American girl who grew up in New Jersey and developed various nerdy interests, including a love of various superheroes, particularly Carol Danvers, who in the comics was originally named Ms. Marvel. One night, Kamala was exposed to the Terrigen mist that gave the Inhumans their powers, revealing she herself had Inhuman blood and was capable of gaining superpowers through Terrigenesis. When she emerged again, Kamala found that she suddenly had the ability to morph her body into any shape she could imagine, from stretching out her limbs to embiggen size, to enlarging to completely altering her appearance. With her newfound powers, she took up the name of Ms. Marvel and began to fight crime. It's a great story, born out of superhero fandom, and it'll be great to see some version of it arrive on the screen someday soon. Amadeus Cho was created to infuse the Marvel Universe with a new dose of youthful energy in the vein of Spider-Man. Since his debut in 2004, he's gone on to become one of the most consistently entertaining young heroes on the roster, and one whose story has a whole lot of twists and turns. The son of Korean immigrants, Amadeus displayed signs of a near-superhuman intellect from a very early age. When he was a teenager, he entered a quiz contest for young geniuses and easily won. Unfortunately, the contest was actually a trap for an evil mastermind named Pythagoras Dupree to uncover and then kill people who might prove smarter than him. Amadeus' family was killed in the resulting attempt on his life, and he ended up on the run. While trying to make his way in the world, he made some pretty powerful friends, first traveling with the Hulk and then with Hercules. He's since become much more than simply a super genius, including taking over for both of those heroes as a Prince of Power and a totally awesome Hulk. The idea of a kid whose only crime is being really smart getting swept up in a world of superheroes and villains with such sudden ferocity is compelling in the same way that Spider-Man's story is. It also gives Marvel Studios an opportunity to give Bruce Banner a new person to play mentor to as the MCU continues to grow and expand. The comics have even figured out one of the hardest parts, which is making super intelligence a power that works visually. Plus, since his mom shows up in Age of Ultron, we already know that he exists in the MCU. Hopefully, it's only a matter of time before Amadeus himself makes an appearance on the screen. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more Looper videos about the MCU are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.